even though 2/3 of the table.
Hey, side note, can we sell that massage chair? I found out that's like worth $4,000. Sorry.
You looked it up?
Will messaged me. He's like, "Yo, my friend just bought this massage chair, the massage chair you guys have, for $4,600." And I was like,
So do you think
"What?"
we could sell it for like $3,000 used?
Probably like $3,500, maybe.
I'll
30
take
grand.
3.
Yo, that's what I was telling Tyler. I was
just
like,
chop it up 1,000 each.
"That's what I said, dude." Maybe I'll take
Hey, we probably
$800.
should sell it for a few grand, legit.
Yeah, that's what they
You
said.
should look up the brand and see how much it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, we'll be right back
Sorry,
from this podcast. Give us a second.
So if anyone wants a massage chair,
Fuck. All right.
derail. It's just science.
Jesus Christ. All right, welcome back to the Average Bros podcast. If you didn't already, go check out our website at averagebrosfantasyfootball.com. We're also on YouTube. It's youtube.com/ that's the one that goes forward. Average Bros FFP. Check us out on YouTube. We have full video format over there. Also, I don't know what else, but let's just say today is all about draft strategies, what you should and shouldn't do. I mean, you can do it still if you want, I guess, but there's just and then possible draft stories that bad shit that we've seen happen in previous drafts we've been in. So, do you guys want to start it out? What are some draft strategies, you guys? When you're going into the draft, what do? Do you pound an entire bottle of Captain Morgan before you get
Do we pound
Double
town?
shot for sure.
Well, here's the first thing I think you should do is if you're not already, start mock drafting. Like, just you don't know where you're gonna pick from. You could be at the 101, and you're gonna take Le'Veon or Gurley, obviously. You could be at the 108, but just start learning like where, like, hey, like if I'm gonna do a random draft, I'm gonna be picked out of a hat or whatever you guys do, or beer pong tournament or whatever people do. Know where you're gonna pick from, because then you have an idea of what players are gonna fall to you in certain rounds. You're gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm at the 108. Like, I know who I'm gonna probably get here, so I can practice for a few days. Oh, I'm at the 104. It's like, okay, cool. I know I'm gonna get a top 4 running back, and then I can just play the field from there. So my recommendation is to start mock drafting and start randomizing like what position you're at.
Yo, I do the same thing. I try and draft as if I was like first or second pick, and then I'll draft like 6th or 7th, and then I'll draft at the very end.
Yeah.
Like I'll do mock drafts for all three, like beginning, middle, and end.
And throw yourself some curveballs in there too. Like when you're mock drafting, be like, don't just be like, okay, if you're the if you know you're in a league and you're the 102, don't just be like, okay, Le'Veon Bell, next round, T.Y. Hilton and so and so running back. All right, so and so like, and then next time you do a mock draft, be like Le'Veon Bell, so and so running back, and T.Y. Hilton. Like mix up your strategies. Take like a tight end in there. Take maybe take 3 receivers, maybe take 3 running backs, and be like, okay, this is how my team's gonna play out if I go this route. And then you're gonna be like, I don't know how I feel about this. If I feel safe about my team or feel bad about my team. So you gotta just like, you got to test the waters. You got to go out there. You got to, play just the tip and just test the waters with everything.
Just the tip.
Just
I like
the
it.
tip.
I had to throw
Just
that in there.
Stick
Sorry.
your tip in. Do I have the 7th position? I'll just stick my tip in there. To put my little.
No, I
PP.
agree. I definitely think you should be mocking a lot. Most of the time, you'll know where you're picking, though. Like you said, you'll draw out of a hat, or sometimes you'll do reverse order from where you finish. So if you finish last, you get the first pick. But yeah, you can't mock enough. Practice makes perfect. So the more you mock, the better you'll understand what group of players are consistently there as you're doing the rounds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going down. So you always have a good understanding of, okay, maybe you like a certain player, but if they get taken right before you, you'll know, okay, well, these 3 or 4 players are usually around this or available in this round as well. So you won't be caught with your pants down in a sense,
Yeah, I like getting caught with my pants down, but not in the fucking draft. You know what I'm saying?
So one thing I actually started like integrating into my own mock drafts is, okay, there's a term. It's like if I'm drafting next to Tyler, and he snipes me, and you're like, motherfucker, like this dude just took who I wanted. Like you start panicking. You don't even know who's on your draft board anymore. You're like, oh, I'm gonna take Corey Davis in the first round, you start freaking out. It's like, okay, like when you do mock drafts, like prep like the player you want first, pretend like they're gone. So like let's just say I'm doing a mock draft and Melvin Gordon's who I want. I've been pretending like Melvin Gordon's gone. And like who's my next player? So you should be prepared to get sniped no matter what.
Yeah, I sniped the fuck out of Tyler last year. Remember that?
Both of you guys are guilty of doing
Yeah,
this
because
to me.
because I felt so bad. You told me, you were like, dude, I love McCoy this year. And
Hey, he signed me with
yeah,
McCoy
you
too.
fucking hammered, dude.
This was
And
in
we were
2015 when he
hammered,
was a
and,
monster.
and you told me that, and I fucking drafted him right in front of you.
You're-
I felt
you're
so-
welcome.
I'm sorry, dude.
You're welcome.
I apologize. I just want to apologize to
It's
you.
all right. Did you win that league?
No, I didn't even.
Oh,
make
who
the
won? Who won
playoffs.
that league?
You won. You
Oh,
won that
that's
league.
right.
But I won that league because I had Le'Veon
And then you
Bell
did. Yeah, you won that league with McCoy.
and LaShawn McCoy.
Bro, I
And-
thought McCoy was falling in my lap. I was like taking a shot with Art at the bar, and they were like, "It's on UT," and I'm like, "McCoy," and they were like, "He just got picked," and I was like, "Fuck."
Yo, I'm sorry.
I don't even know who I picked. To be honest with you, I can't even remember.
So that brings
It
to the
wasn't
point,
anyone good.
And you probably took a panic pick.
I
You're
for sure took
probably-
a panic pick. For sure.
So be that,
Nowhere close to being as good as McCoy was that year.
Yeah. So be prepared. Like, don't be like so set and gun ho on like, oh, like I'm taking this player if he falls to me, because if he gets picked right before you and you're just, you're wasting 8 picks away. Where it's like, I'm gonna take let's just say you're gonna take Keenan Allen in the 208, and you're just gun ho. You're like, he's falling to me. No one's gonna take him. And then it's 207. Keenan Allen's there, and someone in front of you takes Keenan Allen. Like, you have 2 minutes on the clock. You're gonna start to like freak out. Like, oh shit! Like, who do I need as a receiver? This should I do
That's
that?
the worst position ever if you're not prepared.
So be over prepared. That is literally the best thing to do in your drafts. Like, pretend like the player you want is gone, and then pretend like the next player you want is gone as well. Like, be 3 or 4 deep, so you're just ready to go. So, I mean, if you're with the boys hanging out, keep talking crap, and like when they're talking shit, you don't even need to say anything. Just be like, I'll take Kareem Hunt. Like 20 seconds in, they're like, oh, okay, he knows this. All right, you're ready to go. That's just something I've learned because I've made mistakes where I'm so gun ho on like taking a player here, and I know he's gonna fall on me, and I think I'm sneaky, and I think I'm smart, but you're in a 12-team draft. You just need one person in that league to love that player just as much as you do, and your player is gone. It's that simple. 11 other guys can hate that player, but if one loves him, he's gone. It's that simple.
Just always have a backup plan. I mean, just be aware of what players are in the ballpark of that round, in that tier, I guess which you would say.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue. My bad. The video format went out, but it's all good. Continue. What do you guys feel about drafting like players from teams that you watch?
I mean, we're Dolphins fans, obviously, and I fucking love the Dolphins, but I'm probably not drafting any of the Dolphin running backs. Kenny Stills. That's probably who I would take is Kenny Stills. I think he's going around the same ADP as Devontae, maybe like a round or two later, actually.
I think it might be 3 or 4. I can look it up right now. I'll pump back.
I
in
would
2
actually,
seconds.
if there was a receiver I was going to take, it would be Kenny Stills. Devontae Parker's got all the talent in the world. I mean, the guy can jump through the roof, and he's big target, but can he stay healthy? Can he put it together? Kenny Stills low-key has been pretty good, actually. I think he's finished in the top 30 back-to-back years. So, I mean, that's looking like wide receiver 2 flex guy right there. I mean, it's kind of similar to like last year with Thielen and Diggs. Like everyone was on Diggs, and low-key, I thought they're pretty much the same receiver, and you could get Thielen in like the 12th round or something. So, I mean.
Yeah,
And-
what the hell? Why give the
and-
white guy a chance?
And that worked out really good. Thielen went like the 12th round, and he finished like
Yeah.
a top 12 receiver. And Diggs went like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something like that. And
All right, so where are we at?
Diggs is good, and I think he'll do good this year too. But that's just a good example of where you have 2 receivers who can put up similar production, and one receiver is going in a couple rounds later. I'm gonna take that other receiver because I can grab a different position player and then grab that other receiver 2-3 rounds later.
Diggs may or may not be my sleeper of the year.
I do like Diggs this year though.
Possibly our sleeper. So, for example, like we said, we're Dolphin fans. Kenny Stills is going in the 12th round. Devontae is going in the 9th. At this point, both are values. I'm not unfortunate to be a Dolphin fan, but they are. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was thrown for over 4,000 yards twice. We watched the first preseason game today, and he looked like he was healthy. He looked like he was moving. So when it comes to like a receiver core, like a Thielen Diggs or like even a Parker Stills in late rounds, where you want to go like Demarius and Sanders. I'm normally taking Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. You know, it's a coin toss of who's going to finish ahead. So I'm going to take the player that I'm getting at the later value because it's an uncertainty. You know, like you can't say like guarantee Thielen's going to fit ahead of Shiv Diggs or Diggs going to finish ahead of Thielen or Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, vice versa. So, you know, if you're going to take that chance, why not take the chance on the later receiver and pick up a couple extra, you know, solid players in that position in the meantime?
Yeah, my question was more towards like, dude, remember what's his name? Who's that kid?
That
He
guy?
drafted Des Bryant in like the second round last year. It's just like because he was a Cowboys fan. It's just like don't
Not
over.
bad. Dez in the second's not bad though. Last year.
suppose.
Last year, that's where he was going ADP wise.
I suppose.
I get what you're saying though. Don't let your emotions.
But that was
take
more of my
advantage,
question. Is
you know?
like right is like
For
is
the
like,
longest time, I wouldn't draft any Patriot players because I fucking hate the Patriots.
right. But that's what I'm saying.
Gronkowski is a fucking savage.
But you can't,
Like Chris
'cause-
Hogan's pretty
right.
good
That's
too.
my point.
Like,
Is like you can't get too emotional with your team, right?
you can't get too
Agreed.
emotional.
That's a pretty. I mean, it feels obvious at this point, but like some people don't know that. I mean, some people need a reminder, I suppose. They just need to remind them. God, fucking A. Des Bryant, dude.
Use your
Science.
words.
I feel like the best thing like you're trying to say is stay black and white with your division and your team. Like if you're a Cardinals fan or like you're gonna love Larry Fitzgerald and like be hyped about Larry Fitzgerald, because I think Larry Fitzgerald's great value. I think all of us in the podcast do as well. I
Love
think,
Larry.
Yeah, me too.
you can get him in anywhere from you take him in the third, I'm comfortable with that. You take him in the fourth, I'm comfortable with
I
that.
took him in the second last year.
I wouldn't. You take him in the second, and wouldn't even like if someone did that. I wouldn't be like, ooh. I'd be like, oh, that's
What's
Everybody
the
said
ADP?
that.
Like fourth round, right?
Yeah, I'd be like,
Literally,
someone's
everybody
smart.
said that.
Fourth
I
round.
drafted him, and everybody
Solid wide
goes,
receiver
oh.
two. Wide receiver one numbers.
Yeah, and that's because but be black and white. Be like, I know Larry's going to do this. This is my team. I see the field. I see this. But, don't write off, your Seahawks players. Don't write off your Doug Baldwins. Don't write off your Russell Wilsons. Don't write off, we have the Niners in that division. Don't write off your Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't write off Jerick McKinnon and Garcon and Goodwin. Don't just be like, oh, like, I'm not touching those players because they're a division. Like, ultimately, you want to win fantasy football and you want to have fun, but, it's like, if your friend's going to talk shit because they have the better team or they have a team in your conference, like, well, your boy helped me, like, win my championship. So it's like, I want money, and it's like it's almost like a little slap back in the face.
For sure.
One thing I will do though is, for certain teams, I just won't draft any players for those teams. Like the Browns, I don't know, they're really bad. So like, I mean, I drafted Duke Johnson last year. Maybe that's a bad example, but maybe be like a good example would be like the Packers running backs coming into this year. Now I know you don't agree with this, Anthony, but I just feel like there's just three running backs. Like you never know who's it gonna be. 1 week it could be one guy, 1 week it could be the
It's
next.
like the
it's like
Seattle's running game
it's
right
like
now.
a Russian roulette almost. Yeah, Seattle, how it was last year, and I feel like Indianapolis is gonna be like that this year. They got
Yeah.
three running backs. I mean, I know you're saying there's always a shot, drafting the best player, especially in the later rounds, but there's just some teams I just won't. I'm just not gonna. I don't want the headache of wondering whether or not,
Yeah, it's
is
almost
he going to
better.
start this week or what should I do or not. I'd rather just not even have that headache. I'd rather draft someone who's
Yeah.
I'm more confident with,
Well, here's my thought on that is, I'm a player of like I like to take my guarantees in the first 1 to 5. After that, I just start firing shots. Like, so when you're in those late rounds, you're looking at like the Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, Ty Montgomery. I'm like, who could possibly win me a league? And this is the same thought process I had last year with Alvin Kamara when I was like, okay, like if Alvin Kamara sees the Darren Sproles role, because I thought that was a possibility because I looked into the Saints' pass catching ability and what Sean Payton does and what Drew Brees does. I was like, this is a receiver, and I told them this before we even started Fantasy Football Cast, and I know Tyler could vouch for this. I'm like, he could see 80 catches out of the backfield, and I didn't really think that would happen, and I mean, it happened, and it paid fruition for me in almost every league I had. But, I look for like, okay, who's that late round running back that can give me that big value? And that's why it's like, even if there is a committee, I'm like, okay, I'm going to know what I have in week 1 or week 2. Like, I'm going to see this guy on the field and know if he's special and know if he's a talent. And when I saw Kamara in the preseason, I saw he was doing something special. And then when I saw him like with AP and Ingram, I was like, don't drop him yet. Don't drop him yet. Hold on to him. And it ended up paying to fruition. So, yes, I agree with you. Green Bay could be a mess and it could be a waste of me 3 or 4 weeks. But if Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams or Ty Montgomery end up being, a workhorse running back on a top 5 scoring offense with Aaron Rodgers, that's going to pay its value like rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds ahead. And so I don't mind taking a shot if you're like you want to take a shot at Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams and, just late round flyer, hold them and, you see what you have. I know Aaron Jones is suspended for 2 weeks, by the way, if you didn't know that, he is. So take your shot on Jamal Williams late and see what happens. And if he ends up busting out of the gate, rushing for, a big yards per carry, catching the ball, like you have a lottery ticket in your 7th to 10th rounds. And, especially if
I think it's good for those later rounds, but I just think that, I don't know. It's just sketchy. I agree. I'm more on Tyler's side on this. I don't know. It just feels sketchy getting those.
I just don't want to deal
like
with
you
the
said,
headache.
just avoiding it. Just
I don't
avoiding
want
that
to
whole
week in,
fucking
week
deal.
out be like, I don't know. But you're making some valid points over there, saying you're taking a lottery chance, lottery ticket. You know what I'm saying? Taking a flyer, I guess you would say, whether or not, and if not, I mean, I guess you drop him, and then you
what the
pick someone
fuck
up.
is
But
it?
I mean, like
it's
you said,
basically a waiver wire
if he
pickup.
does blow up, then hey, you got him in like the
Anything
11th
over
round, 12th round, and you got to steal.
Anything over the 8th round's a waiver wire pickup, basically, anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
a lot of
think-
those players, you're dropping.
And I think that all comes down to your style of play. Like I'm the gun ho. Like we're talking about strategies. My strategy is to like, hey, I'm gonna lead the league in scoring. I'm gonna blow you out. I don't care what you do, but I'm gonna be. Because I've had leagues where I've actually finished 8th as the number 1 scorer.
Yeah,
And,
feel you.
and I think everyone has the stories of like playing fantasy football where you finish in the bottom half and you're like, hey, I lead the league in scoring. And that's the ultimate goal is going into the playoffs, leading the league in scoring, having that team that averages the highest scoring points per game because, you have the best chance of winning, when it comes to that route. So, it depends. Like, do you want to be a safe player who has like I just want to take someone who's going to get me my 10 points, I have my studs, play that, whatever. Or do I want someone who's like, okay, I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to drop 4 to 5 players anyways, but 1 or 2, or if I hit big, 3 of those guys might end up being, 12 to 20 point players. Like, that's where I lie in it. It's like, I like firing my bullets. I like taking my chances. I like getting my studs in the beginning. I'm pretty safe in the first, my first 3 to 4 rounds. Like, I'd rather take a Jordan Howard over Jerick McKinnon. I'd rather take my guy I know it's going to get 240, 250 carries over. He could be this, he could be that, and then I'd rather fire my bullets later in the rounds where those are guys I could drop anyways. But if they hit, Alvin Kamara hit for me in every league, and I can't tell you how many dividends it paid. Yeah, I'm not gonna get a first round running back in the 10th round again, but if I take
Yeah, I mean that was extremely lucky.
extremely lucky, yes,
Getting
and I'm giving
Alvin Kamara that early is
for like
fucking
Robbie
ridiculous.
Anderson, for example, was a good receiver you could take in late rounds, and he was a top 24 receiver. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just players every year where it's like fire your bullets in my strategy. And if you miss,
Man, you miss them too. I mean, like I had Martavis Bryant in like the 11th or 12th round last year.
that meant like a 5th last
But,
year.
yeah, I
like-
drafted him pretty high last
Yeah.
year.
See, like I drafted him like super late, and obviously it didn't hit as much as I would like, but it definitely could have amounted to something. Him coming back into the league, the way he did, and I don't know. So sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. Obviously, we all can't be lucky like you and hit fucking the Alvin.
You did call
Kamara.
that though.
Oh, like I said, watching film, and that's what we're here for. Is like I watched film. I watched the player on the field. I watched him shedding tackles. I watched him getting yards after contact, and that's something where as a group this year have like come together and we're watching the preseason. We're watching plays or watching like who they're playing against.
And if you're listening to this right now and like watch preseason, man, it literally like it will show you, because if you're not like the person that watches college football and you don't know who the hell these rookies are coming in, you can watch preseason and just like you said, see Alvin Kamara rolling out of tackles and shit like that. It's like it will just up your draft experience. You'll just be way more ahead of the game by watching a couple games.
Yeah,
what is it?
Tyreek Hill was another guy I was big on too.
What is
Not Tyreek Hill, but Tariq Cohen was another
Yeah.
guy I was on.
I still like Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, it's just like you see these guys
It's
and
a good offense for him.
yeah, and you just like when you're watching the preseason, like, and don't watch one play or the highlights because you're gonna see the highlights. You're gonna be like, oh my god, he's a savage. He just busted off his play. Watch the preseason or listen to us, and we're gonna give you like I said, black and white advice. Like that's what we're here for, is to be like, oh, this player did this, this player did that, this player did that. These players were in, and it's hard to make a clear prediction of what this player is going to do. But when you're seeing it with your eyes and this player is separating by 2 yards of the receiver position, or this guy is just running into like a battering ram into players and just driving through contact, breaking tackles, you're like, okay, there's something more here than just a preseason player. This is a guy who's going to make some noise in the NFL. And that's something last year watching preseason I learned in the first years, and I'm trying to transfer that into this year. And you know, the Giants, for example, like I've had a tough time evaluating the Giants because, you know, everyone rates Saquon Barkley as a top 5 running back or top 8, whatever you want to put it. Odell Beckham was a top 5 receiver. Evan Ingram was a top 5 tight end.
Evan Ingram I'm a fucking fan.
I was off him at first, but I'm on him now.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I think there's volume enough, and I think that volume could. I'll get into that later. Sterling Shepard, that's another receiver who people have in their top 34, and it's like, okay, so if you predict all these players to look good, like Eli Manning has to be a top 15 quarterback.
Right.
Like there's no way you can carry all these players in the offense and not be a top 15 quarterback. And, you know, I watched the preseason today, and with the Shermer in the offense who came over from Minnesota, like, I was watching the plays, and, you know, they were on timing. They were on rhythm. You know, Eli looked good, and this is an offense where just one game of preseason, like, had I not watched the preseason, I would have been like, oh, the Giants suck. Eli sucks. Like, whatever. They got Saquon. I would be like, but now I'm watching the preseason. I watch the throws. I watch the throws he's making to, like, Barkley. I watch Barkley make I think Barkley's going to have some positive and negative games, but I watch the plays he can make, and I watch what the offense can do with him in there. And, you know, this is like a deduction I took from the first game with the Giants and Browns, and I'm like, there's going to be some plays in there. And Eli, with this offense, if I watch the next 2 games and see what I saw, this is an offense I'm going to purchase and buy into.
What are your guys' draft strategies? Like, obviously we talked about this a little bit off podcast, but when are you going into the draft? Do you have set in stone, oh, I'm going to draft a running back first? Are you going to draft a wide receiver first? Are you going to do you have something like that, or do you just kind of go for the best value that's there?
For me, I always try to grab like a top running back. I feel like it's
I'm right there with you.
Super important to grab like a top 10 running back if you can. Just because, I don't know, man. So many times where a receiver gets hurt and another receiver steps in, and they could put up some similar production. Where, like, if a top running back gets hurt, you have, like, the backup, you can start him, but the numbers are just not the same. And
like, Deontay Foreman can't produce the same as, like, your number 1 running back.
From the Texans?
Yeah, it's like, I agree with you. I just think
it's just I just think it's important to grab a running back. I mean, I don't know. It depends, I guess, on where you're drafting from and whatnot. But I'm personally big on drafting a running back. I mean, if the running back isn't really good, and I mean, let's say if like I'm drafting late in the first round, and you know, it's like Saquon, fucking Kareem. You know, but then like Odell or like Julio's there. Like, I'm gonna take Julio or Odell over them, you know.
Right.
But then in the second round, I'm most likely gonna take like a Fournette, a Melvin Gordon. You know, like, you know, I want to get a running back that's gonna get me like 250 plus touches. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like there's just type A running backs that you're just silly if you pass on them. Like, okay, like if they're like I just can't justify. I feel like running backs are just so much more important. If Leonard Fournette's there,
We're speaking PPR as well, people.
yeah. We mostly play PPR.
Because this differs in standard. You can, you know, but we speak, like I said, in the beginning of the podcast, we speak PPR. But go ahead, Mike.
But I just mean, especially with PPR too, is with the reception points, it really adds up. Like, even like a middle of the road receiver ends up giving you a ton more value. So you end up, you don't need that. A running back, you just can't replace those. There's like a good like 12 running backs that I think are in a certain category that the rest of the running backs in the entire league just aren't there. They're just not going to give you that value. You know what I mean?
No,
you just can't replace. You just can't replace them.
I agree.
I know Anthony's a little bit different on this whole thing. Turbo Mick draft 8 receivers in a row.
no.
You're more like draft the best
Well,
player
okay,
on the
don't-
board. I
Okay,
feel
look,
like.
me and Tyler are fans of running backs, but don't do what fucking Anthony's little brother does and draft 6 running backs.
And no receivers.
Dude, he drafted 6 running backs. He had like Doug
Well-
Martin, Jay Ajayi. He had like he had
Well, here's
all
the
these
thing:
guys,
is
David
okay,
Johnson.
if you're gonna go receiver heavy, you have to figure out how to balance your team back. If you're gonna go running back heavy, you have to figure out how to balance my team back. Because like I said, I touched on like my thing is like you want to lead the league in scoring. Whether you finish 4-9, 9-4, 6-6, you know your plan should be to attack, lead the league in scoring. And how can I get the most value at every pick? You know, after a certain point, you know you're drafting for bench spots and upside. But you know, my thing is if I can take 2 receivers who are going to lead me to, you know, 20 points a week, I'm not afraid of it at all. Because, you know, and it just depends on your league. If you're drafting people who are very smart and very intelligent, it makes it a lot more difficult. But if you're playing in a home league where people don't listen to podcasts and people go in there picking 4 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds and,
Jesus.
you know, people are and these are home leagues. This is what happens. And this is where you can take advantage of stuff like that. You know, this is kind of what I did is, you know, in the league last year that we were all in is, you know, I took Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, and Gronk in my first 3 picks. I had no running backs in my first 3 picks. Yeah, I hit on Kamara later, but I also took Carlos Hyde in the 4th. I took, I think, a couple
To
other
me,
value running backs. And it's, you know, I wasn't like, oh, crap, I don't have a running back in my first 3 picks. But I was like, oh, crap, Gronk, Julio Jones, and Michael Thomas are going to score me 15 to 25 in a week. Because I saw the value I had there, and I knew I was like, okay, and then I saw that, you know, everyone geared back towards the wide receivers, and I was like, the running backs with some decent value are going to fall back to me. You know, when you're in that receiver scenario, you need to take those running backs who are going to get you receptions.
I mean,
So I
if
took
Julio Jones is in the second, if I'm in the second round and Julio Jones is there, and I also took a wide receiver in the first round, like say I take Mike Evans or something in like the 6th position, I don't know, whatever it is.
Antonio Brown at the 6th, let's just say.
Let's just say, yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's where
Odell.
he's going at the 106.
Mike Evans is like second round.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So say you take,
Well,
let's say
but-
you take
sorry, I'm
Antonio at the
thinking last year,
106.
but, like,
So
but if Julio Jones is there in the second round and I have a top,
It's hard to
end
pass up
receiver,
on
yeah,
him.
it's like
to
it's
me.
like, look, I'm not gonna fucking pass on him, but I would rather have, because after the second round, once the running backs are gone, I feel like they're almost all the same after that.
all right, so here's a good example of what. So let's just say you take Antonio Brown at 106, right? And then you have
Is he really going 6?
he's 106, and that's his
I
average
have a mock
ADP.
draft. I need a mock draft one.
So you come back and you're looking at either where am I at? I just lost my. You're looking at either Devontae Freeman or Julio Jones. Devontae Freeman could give
Julio
you.
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, I would take Julio Jones. Right
So
there.
this is what I'm saying with this, and so okay, so now you have 2 of like possible. You could have the number 1 and 2 receivers.
Yeah, you have 2 top 5.
You could have guys catching over 100 balls and 1,500 yards.
Okay, so
each.
in this situation, yeah, definitely.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't go into it thinking I'm taking a running back no matter what. And then, you know, you could get
But yeah,
in your same spot
Dude,
coming back.
That's a dream scenario, though.
that's pretty cool.
No, this is literally where ADP is showing it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen, honestly.
And then you
It could happen to you.
and you can get a Darius Guice.
If you can get
and Alex
Antonio Brown
Collins
and
and
Julio
Darius Guys
Jay.
just broke his fucking kneecap in half.
well, I know
today.
minus his knee, but I'm saying like you're gonna get a running back who's gonna. Do we all agree Darius Guice is gonna get 200 carries?
Yeah,
if
he's
he
healthy.
didn't just
If he
die
didn't
today.
yeah.
Okay. Do we all agree?
His
Alex?
NFL
Okay.
career didn't end
Okay,
today.
But you can get like I get what you're saying though.
Okay,
Like Lamar
Alex
Miller, Lamar Miller's gonna get
Jay
200.
Ajayi. Do you think
Jay
these
Ajayi,
guys?
those guys are gonna get 200 plus touches. You know.
Okay, and we all agree Joe Mixon's gonna get 200 touches,
Joe
right?
Mixon's gonna get 200 plus touches. Yeah.
And we agree none of them are gonna see over 60 catches, right?
yeah, brother.
And
You're looking at
all
like
gonna probably-
250-ish touches, 240
Okay.
touches.
So you might be missing out on 30 carries, but you're getting an elite wide receiver.
No, I agree. I see. Like in that
See, there's-
scenario, I would agree.
And that's
Right,
what I'm
right,
saying.
right
That's
there.
what that's what I'm saying. I love
There's
getting a
definitely
running back and
scenarios
receiver
where it makes sense to do
for
it.
sure. But if you're gonna drop me the top 2 receivers possibly in my draft, I'm gonna take them in a heartbeat.
Like I'm big on drafting a running back, a good running back.
I just need the one. I just need the one to be in my running back 1 spot, and for me to not worry about that position. So I can
100%.
just like fucking every week
100%.
I can set that dude there, and I just don't have to worry about it. Like I need a like last year I had McCoy, Mark Ingram, and I fucking like I luckily Mark Ingram worked out pretty well for me, and and every week I could just put those two guys in there, and all I had to do was worry about my flex and maneuver my wide receivers there.
All right, so I'm playing devil's advocate with you two. Who is more injury prone, receivers or running backs?
I mean,
Running
just off
backs.
the top of my head, I would say running backs because
Yeah.
they take more
Yeah, they're getting touched more.
Yes,
more
and-
physical
'Cause
contact.
they like
Yeah,
getting
and
touched
they-
a
they
lot
get-
more.
and they get hurt more. So you're,
People touch them. In
that's that. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like I said, I like getting 1-1 if I can, but if the value falls to me, I'm not afraid to take 3 running backs in the first 3 picks. But devil's advocate, David Johnson, your number 1 pick overall last year, hurt
out the whole year.
out the whole year. And that's what happens at this running back position is you're getting hit 30 times a game. You're getting hit 25 times a game. You're not only catching the ball, you're not only pass blocking, you're not only taking blitzers coming in full speed. You're taking a lot more contact than these receivers do. And, if I can lock myself in with a guaranteed top 5 receiver, 2 top 5 receivers, I'm not afraid of it. Is this something I would love to do? No. Ultimately, I would love to have that workhorse. I agree with you guys. I want that guy I can lock and load in there for, 15 to plus carries and 3 or 4 catches, and then get that, Julio Jones, Odell. I would love that. But if everyone's taking running back hoe, like this is it, and there's ride or die, like I'm not afraid to take, Odell and Julio into my spots and have the number 2, 3, even the 1, 2, 2 top 5, because who knows what's gonna happen. Every year there's bust. Every year there is, running backs falling off, and at least there's a little more consistency at the wide receiver position because those targets are locked in, those targets are going there. Even when these receivers have down years, they're still getting 1,000 yards and 70 catches and stuff like that. And that's just the way I view stuff. You don't have to agree with me, you don't have to go my strategy, but I just feel like you should never be afraid to take a running back heavy situation or receiver situation. But if you do, know what you have to do in the next rounds, and know that you have to you take 2 top receivers, you don't need to touch a receiver for the next 6 rounds. Take 2 guys you think are going to be semi workhorses. Take a chance on like someone with upside. If Mark Ingram might even be a perfect player if you go 2 receivers in the right there. Let's just say you take like an Odell and
where's
Julio
Mark?
Jones?
What is his ADP
take
right now?
he's at the 408. And if you go receiver heavy, Mark Ingram was a perfect running back to target. I feel like
Yeah.
if you take 2 receivers off the bat and you take another running back in the third, let's just say you get like Jared McKinnon, Jordan Howard, I don't know, take another running back and you're like, all right, cool. I'm on this receiver train carrying me. I can get Mark Ingram in the 5th. He comes back in 4 whatever it is, 4 weeks. Now you have an RB1 onto your receiver loaded stuff already. That's a scenario where if you take receivers, you don't be afraid to take Mark Ingram in the 5th or 6th.
I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, if it came down to like I got AB and then it came back around, and Julio was there, I'm for sure taking Julio Jones right there. Especially because there's, I guess you could say in round 3, 4, 5, there's some decent value. I feel like. I mean, Jordan Howard's falling to the 3rd round. I think he's finished in the top 10 last 2 years. So, I mean, I don't understand how he's fallen to the 3rd round. And then Lamar Miller's in the 4th round. I know a lot of people don't like Lamar Miller, but he's like the perfect RB2. He's got good RB1 upside. I mean, Ajayi's fallen to like the 5th or 6th. I mean, if Ajayi's my flex.
Ajayi's falling so fucking deep. I don't understand that.
I mean, people don't understand. Like, you go
that
out
dude
and you
hit 200-300
trade for a
yard
guy, you're
games
going
in a
to
row.
use him. And the Eagles have the best line. So, on Pro Football Focus, they're rated the best offensive line. So, I mean, you're telling me I'm going to get a running back that's going to see 200-plus carries behind the best offensive line with an MVP caliber quarterback when he comes back.
Literally
And,
on
then,
like
and they have
rated,
receiving threats everywhere. So, they can't stack the box on them.
they're rated literally the best team in the NFL right
Yeah.
now.
I
NFL
mean-
is ranking them as power ranking them as number 1 team in the NFL.
I mean, yeah, they're the champs.
Well, but to win again, they're saying.
You could hypothetically go nasty and pick up an AB and Julio. And then you said you can get a Jordan Howard or one of those. You could take 2 running backs in the 3rd and 4th. And Larry
So-
Fitz at the 501.
That's
Larry
crazy.
Fitz is your 3rd wide receiver, your
Larry
flex.
Fitz is your fix
with
your
Julio.
flex.
That's so
AB,
crazy.
2 solid running backs, and just start firing off with like Royce Freeman, Ronald
Dude, I
Jones
have a
in there
boner
on like
right now.
I mean, if you,
I have a boner.
I wouldn't be mad.
Bro,
if that was
I'm
the
ready to
start time of
draft
the
right now.
team.
I'm ready to draft.
I'm a fucking.
I want the 106. Give me AB and Julio, and let me
Yo, I am
take my shots there and take Larry in the fifth.
Truly, dude. Oh my god. So I suppose we all agree that it's almost you just get the best. I mean, the best situation. That obviously draft the best situation you can. But I think that we all agree in the same boat is like if the wide receivers are. You know what I think it is if you can. Sorry. I'm so.
Brain fart or what?
No, I'm
Science.
not brain farting. I mean, I am brain farting always. I feel like I'm always brain farting. I feel like I wake up in the morning and
I mean, you could do the opposite too.
what of
You
brain
can go-
farting?
No, I mean, you could take straight running backs and like
No, but
have
that's
success.
what. No, I think that you can do both. I think that you can chill, pups. I think. I think that I almost think that if you set, I think if you set your lineup and you have your running back set every week, like how I did last year, like for example, the McCoy and Mark Ingram, and then you just worry about your wide receivers. You could do it either way, almost. You could have your wide receivers just set every single week, and then just worry about making sure your running back lineup is good. If you have those top three, like you said, if you were to have the Julio Jones, AB, and then you have Fitzgerald in your flex, all you got to do is worry about like plugging in those running backs. To make
PPR,
sure.
you find someone who's going to catch the ball 5 times, you're safe. Like last year you could have
Like a
started
pass
Duke
catching
Johnson
running
as your RB2 and would have got you anywhere from 10 to 18 and your RB2. And you had those 3 guys, you're solid. And you just hit on one running back who, let's just say you take Royce Freeman ends up being an RB1. Now your team is loaded. But you could also do the opposite. Like, you could take 3 running backs in the beginning. You could take your, let's just say you're at the top of the draft. This is a good spot for it, where you take, your David Johnson, Zeke, whatever, Le'Veon Bell, Gurley, and you come back to you, and everyone ended up taking receivers because you're in a PPR, and people are like, oh, receivers score more. And you're getting, let's just say like Kareem Hunt or a Dalvin Cook fell to you there. You could be like, oh crap, I'm going to take a Dalvin Cook and a Jordan Howard, and you might have 3 ultimate running backs that are getting you. It's your goal in those first rounds is like, what player is going to maximize my? This is the way I look at it. It's like maximize my point potential. And if I have 3 running backs who are going to be like ultimate studs, like I don't mind passing on receivers in the same aspect. And that's just the way I view things. And like I said, I just like, I'm there for the Cobra Strike to kill. I'm not there to take second, third, fourth. If you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
If you're not first, you're last.
My advice probably would be to don't feel obligated if you have a running back to go wide receiver the next round.
Yes.
I think we can all agree that.
Yes. Or vice versa. If you have
You
Right.
got to let the draft come to you. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to go into the draft thinking like, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
Because you don't know what the
Because
fuck.
like Anthony was saying, like you could have a player in mind and then you get sniped right before you, and next thing you're like in panic mode. So you got to kind of watch how the draft unfolds. Like he was saying, some players are going to – it's even harder to sometimes do mock drafts because in the mock drafts, no one's drafting quarterbacks really. But then you'll have leagues where – players are drafting Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers in the first round.
Yeah,
This is a true
fucked.
story. This was like 2-3 years ago. Some guy drafted Nick Foles in the first round,
Jesus.
and like he was like legit serious, and it just looked weird seeing like Le'Veon Bell, like the Devontae Freeman, Nick Foles, Antonio Brown. Like what? Like,
Was
why
it
is his
live?
name up there in
Was
the
it
first round?
live?
Yeah, we were live.
Okay, like you wasn't on.
No,
On
we
the
were like
preview.
we were at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, see,
And
that's
and
why
he
you never.
said he had the sleeper pick of the year that was going to help him win.
That's what he said.
And he finished
Who's this guy? I
like
want to
2
shake
and
his
11,
hand.
I think.
I want to shake his hand.
He's
we
an
invite him in
idiot.
there,
He
listen
is an
early?
idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys like that, I want them to play in my league, dude.
This is a true story.
Dude,
Nick
that's
Foles
what,
first round,
I'm
true story. Pittsburgh Steelers first round, true
I'm
story.
about to join a league, and they're telling me that there's a guy last year that drafted 6 quarterbacks. 6
Idiot.
quarterbacks.
That's what we call dead money. Easy money.
Yeah, easy money.
Easy money.
Fuck.
Why would you draft 6
put
quarterbacks?
my
You can only
name-
start one.
just
Unless, of course, it's Tom Brady, because you throw Tom Brady in the flex. You throw Tom Brady in the fucking receiver spot. And Tom Brady could even fucking kick field goals for you, bro. He's fucking the GOAT. He's fucking Tom Brady.
What is he, a fucking 1945?
Bro, he's
Bo
like
Jack-
pump
he's like-
pass
he's
and
like
kick
Bo
champ of the
Jackson.
world.
He's a kicker, quarterback.
Pump pass kick champ Tom Brady. He's the fucking GOAT, bro. He could play all the positions. He gets a fucking bonus for being the GOAT.
Yo, honestly though,
You could flex him.
yo, you flex fucking Tom Brady? Oh, they do have leagues that are flexing. That you can flex quarterbacks on.
Yeah, it's called super flex.
Yeah, fuck those leagues, you know?
Yeah, fuck those leagues. If you play super flex
Well,
leagues,
if
then
playing
fuck
super flex
you.
is different. You got to adjust your quarterbacks rankings really quick because your quarterbacks are scoring high. So it's,
When you said superflex, I heard the word suplex, and it really fucking threw me for a bone. Is that the phrase?
Boner.
I feel like most listeners we're talking to not playing super flex, but if you want to email us and some knowledge on super flex, I have a little bit of knowledge in that. Haven't played it, but I've done a lot of research into it.
Oh my god, it's so knowledgeable.
Mm.
Yo, I just realized that the story you told last time, that was my brother. I told you that story. That happened to me.
With what?
My brother drafted fucking Ben Roethlisberger and then Steelers defense.
No, that was actually a real story.
No, like our friend drafted
Dude, my brother
Steelers
did-
defense in the first round.
Dude,
Mike, stop trying to feel relevant.
no, dude, my brother fucking did the exact same thing. I swear to God.
Well, your brother's an idiot too.
Yo,
I'm just
he
kidding.
truly is.
Mr. Website Director,
Yo,
you're an
fuck.
idiot.
Dude, I swear because
Jaundice, don't do that.
yo, yo, he called me because okay, so he drafted Ben
Mistakes for
Roethlisberger. in the
one. He
fir-
called you for advice.
he drafted Ben Roethlisberger in the
drafted
first round. Dude, he drafted me. Dude, he
The
wrote me
first pick,
in
Mr. Mike.
online. No, no, dude.
Like, we don't have a sticker for that.
Draft me.
Write it
Draft
in.
the average bros. Just write it down on your fucking thing.
Write it in.
Anyways, but no, he called me immediately after drafting Ben Roethlisberger, and then I was like, I called him. I was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? And he was like, I don't know, bro. I feel like he's gonna do good. I'm like, dude, did you do any research? He's like, no, man, I've never done this before. And I was like, God damn it. And I was like, okay, just running backs, wide receivers, just do that, okay? And I hung up. Next round, Steelers defense, dude. Literally that exact same thing. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Brad? I called him back again. I was like, dude, what the fuck did I just say? And he's like, I don't know, bro. I just feel like, I don't know, dude. Everybody says that their defense is really good. Aren't they really good? I'm like, bro, what the fuck's wrong with you? And then I killed him.
Jaguars D, second round. Take them.
Yeah,
Do not
don't
take
draft
them.
a defense in the
Yeah.
first or
I
second
feel like
round.
that's
That's
a
just
random
common
stat.
fucking knowledge.
It's just saying like the rain comes from the sky.
I don't know
You
if this
what
was
I
on
mean?
our pre-podcast.
you shouldn't be
or actual
drafting a defense
podcast.
until like
is
the
if-
12th round and minimum order.
If you played every team that played the Browns last year, you outscored the Jaguars defense by 10 points.
Mm.
Oh, and the Jaguars defense scored the most points by defense in the last 10 years. So,
Streaming.
Don't,
They still
don't
let-
draft the defense.
and then they-
Streaming the matchup
Yeah.
is what he's saying right there. Stream the matchup, and if you played the
Yeah.
Browns, if you would have just played every defense playing the Browns, they would have outscored the Jags. And the Jags defense, Saxonville was pretty nasty last year.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, how nasty were they? Because they let us score. They let the Steelers score 42 points.
Yeah, it's
In a
pretty
playoff
good.
game.
Did they win that
Did you
game?
guys beat them in the
Points.
playoffs?
Did they win that game or what?
I think I'm pretty sure they won.
Oh yeah, I think they beat you guys twice. So that defense was good enough.
Yo, that was okay, whatever. That's fucking something else. But
All right, back to strategies. Back on the board.
what else? What other strategies do you have going in?
All right, so
Do's and don'ts. Do get drunk.
Yeah,
Don't.
yeah. Okay.
Throw
get
up.
drunk.
Don't get too drunk. Do get drunk. Don't get too drunk.
Don't throw up.
I mean, do buy your league mate shots,
Yeah.
but then fill yours with water.
Honestly, that's a good draft strategy. Get them fucking hammered.
Get
And then
people
pick
hammered.
really fast so that you make them panic. That's actually my strategy this year. Is I'm on the turn in like a draft, and I want to pick my picks super fast. so
Yo,
the guy
that's
right
a good-
behind me is gonna be, oh shit!
That really, yo, that actually is a good move.
Instead of figuring 4 or 5 minutes, whatever you pick, I'm gonna know my two players and be like, I will take X and X. You're on the clock. Oh fuck! And then the next guy's gonna be
Yo.
like, you just start the chain and you just start making everyone panic pick.
Because
Steelers D.
Yeah.
there's guys that take forever, and especially those live drafts, because everybody will be like, okay, it's a 2-minute limit, but then it will always go over that fucking 2-minute limit every time. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like to me, no. Okay, if it goes over that 2-minute limit, are you like, okay, you get this guy?
Well, no, we actually play in a league where I think this is the perfect idea. We have a clock. If your timer clicks, you're skipped, and you have to wait a pick to pick again. So you have a 2-minute clock, and if your buzzer goes off, the next guy gets a pick in front of you, and you have to wait another 2 minutes before you pick.
Oh, you have to wait till after he picks.
Yeah,
and then you
so you lose your pick, and I think that's actually a good rule of thumb.
So it's just one in front.
It's only one pick.
It's not like a whole round.
Yeah, it's not a harsh.
I thought you were saying it was a whole round. I'm like, what the fuck?
No. It's not a harsh punishment, but it's like, hey, we're getting this draft moving, and everyone's got to be on time. And if you're not on time, like you pay the fee the same way that everyone else pays the fee.
Yeah.
And if you pick a player that's already been picked, you do a shot. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, you have to blow them. I mean, yeah.
I don't know where you started to go. I think we heard that.
What? Oh.
Can we cut that out?
Just try to keep an eye too on like what's going on. Be aware of what players have been taken and who's still on the board, because nothing's more frustrating than like if someone drafts and they're like, "Oh, give me Tom Brady," and it's like Tom Brady's gone. They're like, "Oh, okay, give me fucking
Tom Brady."
Don't be that guy. Don't be the fucking guy.
Like, okay, give me Ben Roethlisberger for like, oh, he's gone, and then all of a sudden it's like, bro, like, have you been paying attention? Like, they'll just start rattling off like 3 or 4 names,
Fucking
and it's like,
check
bro,
them
all
off.
those players are gone. Like, have you not been paying attention? Like, I get it, you're drinking, you're having fun. It happens to everyone. You make a pick that's already been taken, but just try to stay up on it. I mean, it's only gonna help you. I mean, the more you're aware of what's going on in the draft, the better you're gonna draft ultimately.
It's always that same guy too when they do that.
Do you guys want to touch on a little bit of QB strategy? I'm down for it.
QB strategy, yeah.
All right, so QB strategy, like we've touched on, there's no value in taking a quarterback in the first or second round. Even you're in the third, if you want to take Aaron Rodgers, that's where you're touching on. If Aaron Rodgers, you're okay. But if he's not or gets injured, that's where you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is like, I tend to wait on quarterbacks because quarterbacks are generally overdrafted in the leagues I play on. But I'm not afraid to take that elite quarterback at a high round. But if you take that elite quarterback at a high round, let's just say you take like the Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, which I actually have him lower this year in my rankings. But for example, Aaron Rodgers, do not draft another quarterback in your at least first 15 picks.
No, don't.
Because you already invested such a high pick in that.
If you're going to draft him in the third round,
you're starting Aaron Rodgers every week.
Yeah, don't draft
starting
another
Tom Brady pretty much every week. You're starting Russell Wilson every fucking week.
Don't take a Kirk Cousins or someone in the 8th round thinking, oh, I have trade bait, because that is not what you could have picked
especially
up.
a quarterback too.
Yeah, and you could have picked up a player who could have been a starter or a sleeper or something in that week, and you're starting Aaron Rodgers any week anyways. So you're probably, when you have a bye week, dropping that quarterback. So you just, in a sense, wasted a pick that you were planning on trading, and just don't do that.
I think it's important for the quarterback strategy. You need to know your points for the quarterback. It's either 6 point or 4 points per touchdown. And then also some leagues are 20 yards a point or 25 yards a point. So it's either 4 or 5 points for every 100 yards. So in our boys league, me and Anthony, the quarterbacks, I think they get 5 points every 100 yards they throw, and then they get 6 points every touchdown they throw. So if you get a quarterback who's throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, I mean, he's putting up 30-plus points. I mean, that's Aaron Rodgers. I took Aaron Rodgers in the second round last year.
Jesus, that's early. But in that league,
it's good. Or even we do a league where you get bonuses. Every 300 yards, you get a 3-point bonus, and then every 40-plus yard touchdown, you get a 3-point bonus. So, I mean, you're thinking like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, some quarterbacks who throw some deep bombs. I mean, you just take that into account, like just know your point scoring, because that's going to alter the rankings, ultimately of where they should go,
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, you got to know, like, okay, like, where are my bonuses? Where does this lie? Like, where are the point systems? If you're in a 4-point league, those rushing quarterbacks actually mean more, than the guys who are stagnant, the Tom Brady's, the Matthew Staffords, the Matt Ryans. It actually bumps up the Alex Smiths, the Tyrod Taylors. Those guys are getting more points, especially if you score a rushing touchdown on the ground. You're getting 2 more points.
Yeah, the rushing quarterbacks, it definitely changes
and
for them.
And if you're in a .25 passing yards, like, every, let's just say they average 30, like Tyrod Taylor, for example. I'm on the fence of making him one of my sleepers right now because he averages 30 yards on the ground. So 30 yards on the ground translates to 2.5 passing yards. So that ends up being about an extra 75 passing yards. So if he throws for 200, rushes for 30, he's getting 275. And if he rushes for a touchdown and passes for 2 more, he's getting an extra 2 points in your 4-point leagues, throwing 3 touchdowns and rushing for 1 versus where 3 touchdown passing. So that's something you got to weigh into account with that.
Yeah, and that's been in leagues like I've had friends where everybody gets frustrated at them, like, oh, dude, you're cheating, you're the commissioner, how the fuck are you winning? It's like, yeah, because he's the commissioner and he paid attention what the fucking rules are because he set the rules. He knows what the fuck's going on. If everybody in the league were to just pay attention and look at what the rules were, you would draft the same way he did, and you would fucking have a higher chance of winning. It really does help looking at the rules. That's a big one.
Yeah, just you should know, like, some leagues are only 1 flex, some leagues are 2 flexes, some leagues are 2 receivers, some leagues have 3 receivers and a flex, 3 receivers and 2 flexes. I mean, Anthony said there's a super flex, so it's just knowing what the rosters are, like what you need to fill in your draft, and then the point scoring. I mean, that's ultimately super important, you know? I mean,
Definitely.
Yeah, and something I like doing if I'm going late round quarterback, which is something that I'm like basically I draft until I hit a point to where if I don't see anyone I like and there's a quarterback I love, like let's just say there's a Phillip Rivers, a Matt Ryan, or a Matthew Stafford in like the 9th round, and I'm like I don't see anyone I like as a position player, I'll take that guy, but then I'll match them, and this is something I kind of not opposed to this year, is match them with a quarterback who's on high upside and see what you have in the first week or two. You know, match them with like a Patrick Mahomes, match them with like a Marcus Mariota, Dak Prescott, you know, these rushing quarterbacks who have high upside. And, you know, in week 1, if you see Marcus Mariota, he's rushing the ball and this offense looks good and they're taking off, and you have a Matthew Stafford, you know, you can play that game of like, okay, like I might have a solid QB1 already and a guy with a huge upside in this offense. And, you know, you're picking in these rounds 1 through 8, taking all your position players and getting value, and, you know, you're taking a shot. But, like, I personally like taking 1 quarterback with a safe side and 1 quarterback with upside. But if you take 2 quarterbacks with the safe side, you're kind of just sitting in that streaming range where it's like, take 1 quarterback in your late rounds where you're like, I know this guy's going to be good, like a Matt Ryan, Stafford, Rivers, like I touched on, Ben Roethlisberger. But then take that, you know, Mahomes, take that Mariota, Prescott, take that second,
where
it's
hit the matchup play up.
Yeah, take that Alex Smith of last year into this year, where if they hit, they're a top 5 quarterback. You know, everyone's ranking him as the bottom 20. Mitch Trubisky, if you want to take a shot on that, you know, like no one thought Jared Goff would be what he was. So it's like take that shot in that late round who has an upside, and if they miss, you drop them. If they hit, you have an every week starter. So that's the way I personally like to go. But like I said, if you find value in your quarterbacks in the early rounds, don't be afraid to jump on it.
Definitely. Do you when you guys draft, do you have a like the cheat sheets you go into? Say you're going to a live draft, you're going to go in person, and you're going to go. What do you bring with you? Do you bring I personally bring both. Where the whole I got a running back list, I got a wide receiver list, I got every position list. Do you tend to go off of the every position list, or do you go off the list based on position, like a running back top 50, wide receiver top 50? Like what do you go off of on your cheat sheet? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, I have a tier list.
Yeah.
So I break my running backs and receivers into tiers, and I match them up accordingly. So I'll have a tier of like what's here. I'll give you a quick example. So I break my running backs into tiers and my receivers into tiers. And, you know, my tier 1 would be like Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, and David Johnson. Now I drop into tier 2.
Right.
You know, now I'm looking at like, you know, Kamara, Hunt, Fournette, and, you know, Gordon. And that's my tier 2. But in the receivers, I have the same aspect right next to it. So I have 3 sheets. I have a top overall. I have the receivers, you know, tiers. Then I don't worry about tight ends because I kind of know what I know with tight ends.
Right.
But then I have my receiver tiers. You know, I'll go into I have Antonio Brown's almost in his own tier, but you know I'll have DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, and like maybe probably Michael Thomas. And I got to make some like for sure stat adjustments in that. But that'd be my tier 2. So when I'm looking at them, I'm looking at these tiers, and if I cross out a whole tier, and this is why I say I go to receiver.
Then you focus on the other.
Yeah,
position,
if I
maybe.
cross out, if I'm in tier 3 of running backs, like where I think these are my third, because there's a cliff. My first four running backs, like I said, Zeke, Johnson, Bell, Gurley. There's a cliff that drops off when you start hitting Fournette, Hunt, Barkley, Kamara. There's a cliff, and there's another cliff after that. If I'm still in my tier 1 and tier 2, that's where I start gearing towards receivers, or vice versa. If my tiers drop off in the receiver position, that's where I start gearing towards receivers or running backs.
Right.
So it's almost like you want to, when the wave starts crashing one way, I start to crash the other way.
Right.
Because that's where I find
you're looking
the
for
value.
like the value.
Yeah.
Better value.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I like going off. I don't like going off a top overall. I like going off of like the top, going through the running, by position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the tier strategy is really, really good. I like that. That's how I do running backs. I feel like.
And what tiers means, because we didn't actually explain in the opening episode too much, is it's basically a point drop off. So tier 1, you're gonna have, like I touched on, Todd Gurley, Le'Veon, Zeke, and David Johnson. They're gonna score probably an average, if I'm just using an example of, 18 PPR points per game or 20. But then when you drop into Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, and Saquon, you're gonna drop probably about 2 points per game. And that's where it's almost like a cliff dive every position. It's a receiver, a tight end, quarterback. There's teardrops in every position. So what you want to do is weigh. This is how I draft. Like when I'm in a certain position, if I'm looking at a tier, and I know, especially tier 2, like if there's like 7 running backs sitting in the tier 2, and there's only 2 receivers left in the tier 2, like I know these guys are going to score within the same vicinity, so I'm going to take those. One of the 2 receivers I see left, because when it comes back to me, I'm not going to get those 1 or 2 receivers. But I'm still going to get one of those 7 running backs. So that's where tier drafting comes into play. And if you're new to this, you can email us with any questions. We'll explain it to you guys. But it's something where when you look at it, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, there's a cliff and a drop off at every tier. And like I said, if you know you're 6 picks away, and there's 8 receivers, you're going to get a receiver in that same tier. So, take a running back if there's only 3 running backs in that tier. And that's kind of where I gear my drafting towards. And that's where I find a lot of value at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the tier thing. The tier thing's good. When I draft, I usually do like the ESPN top 300 picks, because I feel like that's the standard thing that people that aren't doing much research, they'll just be like, oh, I have a fantasy draft, and they'll just go to ESPN and they'll just print out the top 300
It's
thing.
almost like you.
And that thing
your
is
shit
never
off of that.
adjusted. I feel like they make those rankings once and then that's it. They don't adjust them at
right.
all. Where like I follow a website that is, the rankings are accumulated through like a bunch of expert rankings. You know what I'm saying? So those rankings are different than the ESPN ones. So I might have a guy, ranked 20th on the expert rankings one supposedly, but then on the ESPN one he's like ranked like 40th or something.
Right.
I just like to keep that one to kind of see what everyone else might be looking at, and I'm actually looking at what everyone brought. I want to see like, what do you do? You have your laptop? Okay, like what'd you bring? Like you didn't bring anything? Okay, you're fucking don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some guys who don't bring anything. Like they're just like, oh, whatever.
And for some reason,
magazines, don't get magazines. That's the worst thing ever. I don't know who thinks getting a magazine is a good idea.
It's always it's someone's dad who comes.
It's
to the
like,
fucking
bro,
draft.
they print a magazine out a month ago, and so much change. And I don't know, just magazines are terrible. I would never use a magazine. There's so much research and stuff you can print out from the internet. Use the internet, Don't get a magazine. It's terrible, I think.
It's always someone's dad who brings the magazine.
Stuff changes every day. Players get hurt. I mean, I don't know. People ball like in preseason and their rankings go up. I mean, it's just a magazine gets printed on the 1st of like the August, and then you're drafting August 27th, and it's like, bro, so much has changed in 4 weeks,
Exactly. Hold on one sec. Continue.
Yeah, grab me a beer, Mike.
Beer?
Hey, I got cash for you at the end of the day.
All right, so do you want to touch on tight end strategy?
Tight end strategy, if you're not getting Gronk, I mean, I took Gronk.
Gronk or Bonk?
Gronk or Bonk. I took Gronk in the 2nd round last year in a PPR league. I had pick, I think I like pick 10 or something like that. And he worked out. He was a savage. But if I'm not getting Gronk, then I'm pretty much waiting on the tight end until like 6, 7, 8. I mean, I don't know. I might even wait later this year. I mean, I know it's preseason, but Njoku had a huge game today, 2 touchdowns. Looked really good. Tyrod. I mean, if you think about Tyrod,
might be my sleeper.
if you think about Tyrod, he had Sammy Watkins and Robert Woods, and he seemed to throw to Charles Clay all the time, you know? So, I mean, obviously he's comfortable with throwing to the tight end. And Njoku's a big dude. He's 6'4", you know, fast guy. He's had some problems with dropping the ball, so, I mean, we'll see what happens then. But, I mean, Anthony is big on this. Rookie tight ends don't really come in and make a big splash right away. But, I mean, they spent a first-round pick on the guy, so obviously they want to use him. Second year, he should only get better. So, I don't know. He's a sleeper. I mean, like I said, if I'm not getting Gronk, I'm waiting until the 6th, 7th, 8th round. Maybe I get Kyle Rudolph, a Delaney Walker. Actually, I love Delaney Walker this year. I think just super consistent. But yeah, if I don't get Gronk in the early rounds, I'm waiting. I'll stream tight ends throughout the year. Get George Kittle and Njoku. I don't know.
Actually, I have
I think it's easier.
Njoku
I think
in
it's
the
easier to get a fucking tight end. Later on, like I feel like even like Tyler Eifert's falling down in the draft even right now.
Yeah,
I broke my back.
I don't think
Spinal.
he's I think he's a one. He had one good year where he had his touchdown catch rate was just ridiculous. I think he had like 12 or 13 touchdowns, but that was like a fluke.
We need to
I mean,
get that
everyone has a good year.
I don't know. But my point is that there's tight ends that like get injured, but they're really, really good. And
Yeah.
all they need is just to have that one fucking season
Yeah.
where they're completely not.
I mean,
injured.
you get there's some decent tight ends late round. I mean, Andrew Luck is back, and it seems like he's heading in the right direction, and he's back. He's Andrew Luck, you know, and he loves throwing to the tight end. I mean, you got Doyle in the later rounds. I mean, they went out and they signed Eric Ebron, who was another former first-round draft pick. So, I mean, these are some tight ends that, I mean, most likely I'm not drafting Gronk unless I'm in, like, the beginning of the draft. So it comes back around to me, in the back end of the
208,
like 210 or 211 or
even
that's if you're doing 12 teams. Yeah, obviously, maybe I'll grab Gronk there because I can grab Gronk and a receiver, Gronk and a running back. But for the most part, I think I'm just gonna hold off on tight end. I'll probably just wait until later rounds.
Wait, guys.
See, here's the one player I actually don't mind reaching for.
Wait, guys. Really quick. Fuck. Hold on.
None of this recorded.
And we're back. Audio only because I'm a fucking idiot.
Technical
All right,
difficulties.
difficult difficulties.
Yeah, what he said.
Tentacle porn.
Can that be your team name?
Technical difficulties.
All right, so my tight end strategy is
Your
I'm pretty strategy.
You do have a tight end, if I
do
could
have a tight end.
say so myself.
I do a lot of squats.
Hell
You
yeah.
can find me on the gram
True Fusion is paying off.
at Anthony
God
Velez.
damn.
But I'm Gronk or Bonk, straight up.
Gronk.
Gronk or Bonk.
Bonk. You didn't say that.
I'm Gronk
You
or Bonk,
didn't
straight up.
say that.
Why? Because this is the Gronk or Bonk song. I'm Gronk or Bonk.
Was that you bonking on the table?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, how long do you bonk for?
I bonk for a total of 35 seconds.
Do you whisper sweet nothings into her ear like that?
Yeah, I say like this. This is how I do it. I
Are you
go,
ready for this?
I go, oh my god, here I am fucking coming. Okay. Tight ends. They're
Anyways,
so
back
tight.
to Gronk or Bonk.
And on the end of the line.
I'm Gronk or Bonk because we know what we have in the Gronk. We know we have a monster, a savage, a guy who's going to score 10-plus touchdowns, gets targeted by Tom Brady nonstop. And what are they missing there in New England? Oh, Edelman. So what is that going to do? Just even give him more targets. When Gronk has his monster years, he's pushing the league touchdown leaders, of course. He's pushing even the top 5 wide receiver yardage leaders. He's pushing the 80-plus reception leaders. And now what do we have? The other big three, the Kelsey. Okay, we have Patrick Mahomes. Do we know if he's going to lean on Kelsey like Alex Smith did? Do we know if he's going to look his way and target him as much as he did? He might be a little bit more rushing. And Alex Smith, low-key, threw for 4,000 yards, missing a game, so threw for about 42, 50, I think it was, about pace. and still rush for a decent, I think it was 400 yards. So is Mahomes going to beat the yardage he did and be able to reciprocate that over to Kelsey? And then you have, Ertz, who's the other big three. And Carson Wentz coming off an ACL, MCL tear, whatever he destroyed his knee with. And, is he going to be able to, start week one? We don't even know if he's a starter in week one,
They also drafted that rookie too.
Yeah, and they also drafted
Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, and he,
They're saying he's a better red zone target.
Yo, he looked good
than
today
Ertz.
in the game.
Yeah, he caught a touchdown today.
And that's worrisome because Ertz put up basically the same stats he did the year before, but with more touchdowns. So if you take away those touchdowns, you're looking at Ertz in that 6, 7, 8 range. So for me, it's Gronk or bust, and I'm not afraid because I know what I'm getting in Gronk. I feel like I know what I'm getting in Ertz. I feel like I know what I'm getting in Kelsey. But there's a little bit of risk there, and that scares me at the tight end
Yeah,
position.
there's a little bit of overvalue in some of those tight ends. But I definitely think that there's some tight ends that you can get, like Jordan Reed and shit like that,
Yeah, and so that's where
That
I'm at.
are
Where it's
kinda
Jordan Reed
like-
would be a lottery ticket. You're
Yeah.
taking a gamble on
you're
him.
taking a gamble.
Yeah, like you can but that's what my point is. Like,
But he
you
could
can
be a
get
monster.
some guys in those later rounds that actually might work out for you.
Yeah, and give you close to the value where you're drafting these guys in the 3rd or 5th round. And there's just a lot of uncertainties with those guys, and it's like, I love Kelsey. I've owned him, and I've had him in multiple leagues. I love Ertz, but those uncertainties in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm not willing to risk it for that. And that's why I'm Gronk or bust, or Gronk or bonk. And, if I don't get him, I'll even take him as early as probably the 205, because I feel like without Edelman, he's going to have those targets. Without Cooks on the outside, being a true number one, I just think Gronk's going to have a
No Amendola either.
no Amendola. I just think Gronk's going to have a massive target share this year. And Brady, he's getting older, and it's like, who is his most reliable option? Get the ball out quick.
Get
Who's the biggest
ball
target?
to the big guy out
Yeah,
there. Just
get
throw it
into the
that
monster
fucker.
who just says Gronk spike.
So
So
on another level.
He is such a Neanderthal, by the way, just as a person.
He's just living his best life.
Yeah.
Truly,
He
honestly.
really is.
he's like, just don't touch my back. So if it's not him, it's I'm taking a late round tight end for me.
I'm pretty much
personally.
I'm the same way. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I don't really mess with any tight ends besides Gronk. What about you, Tyler?
I mean, yeah, it just depends on my draft spot for Gronk. I mean, like Anthony was saying, he's a savvy. You know what you're gonna get with Gronk. You're getting the tight end one. And
So
like you
almost
said,
if you don't,
no Amendola, no Edelman's out for 4 games.
I feel like he's
Cooks
a
is gone.
301
He's just
every year.
he should see 150 targets. Let's be realistic, right? I mean, I don't think that's unrealistic.
Mm-mm.
It's
And
definitely on the upside.
yeah, and yeah, if I'm not touching Kelsey, like you said, Mahomes, you just don't know. And Ertz, they drafted the rookie. It's gonna take away from some of his production.
It's like Gronk or sleeper tight end.
Yeah, like
Almost.
I kind of am aiming towards the later middle rounds for tight end. Like Rudolph, I think could be pretty good
Yeah.
with Kirk Cousins.
He's going kind of early too.
Delaney Walker's just been super consistent. I mean, Marcus Mariota just loves Delaney Walker. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know they have Corey Davis coming in, but I mean, who does Mariota have the best rapport with? It's Delaney Walker, So
Right.
I mean, I think Corey Davis only helps Delaney Walker because he opens up the field, for him. I know you're not big on Jimmy Graham, but I'm big on Jimmy Graham. I think.
I like him.
I mean, he's with
We'll
the
save
best.
We'll save
quarter-
this debate
Yeah, well, yeah.
for another show.
He's with the best quarterback in the league. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 30+ touchdowns, you got to think he's going to get at least like 6 of them, right? Minimum 6, right?
Do you know what that?
I mean, his yardage and his catches might not be that good, but I mean, I don't know.
Jimmy Graham
I
on
love
the
Jimmy Graham. Just a big body, man. I mean,
him
just
on
throw
the
him the ball,
Packers
he's going
is
to catch it.
what I
I
like
mean, I
to
feel
call
like 2 for 20
bonerific.
is easy to replace what you're going to get from him. But like I said, we'll save that debate for another.
Yeah, we'll save
This
that.
is
for
one
the
of our
tight
players
end
where we'll have
podcast.
fun debating.
It's just Jordy's gone, so you don't know what you're going to get with Geronimo Allison. Could he be good? Yeah. Could he be just an average guy?
Sorry.
That could happen too. Cobb's getting older. He seems to keep getting nagging injuries here and there. I mean, he could be a guy who just maybe doesn't get a lot of yardage and receptions, but he could get you a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're getting in those later rounds, minus a Gronk and Kelsey, whatnot, and Ertz, you're almost looking for a tight end who's, can he score me a touchdown or can he not? And I mean, I'm going to take a chance with Jimmy Graham, and he's going to score me a touchdown compared to some of these other tight ends in the later rounds. You know?
All right, here's the question: are you willing to draft Jimmy Graham at the top of the 5th round?
Oh no, I'm talking. This is talking about like
And that's where he's going.
if he falls. So
And
yeah,
that's,
no.
that's where he's going. That's the problem I have with
Top
Jimmy
of the
Graham.
5th round.
He's only 5 spots behind Zach Ertz.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not reaching for that. I didn't.
And I
didn't
think
realize
they
that was
both
that.
have about the same touchdown upside. Jimmy Graham, yes, has a little more because of Aaron Rodgers, but Zach Ertz has a lot more yards and receptions.
Yeah,
You know what I
for sure.
noticed too that happens during drafts, and I catch myself time even in mock drafts I catch myself doing this is like a tight end will go and I'll be like, oh fuck dude, I gotta get a tight end soon.
That's perfect.
Yo, that's
That's
the
when you
worst.
Jump on value.
That's the
You
worst.
get like the tight end run
attitude.
going.
You should
Tight end.
You're like you start being like, oh dude, if I don't get a tight end soon, all of them are gonna be gone. I gotta
Well,
get
here's
a
the
tight
perfect
end.
scenario too: is like where you take Gronk at like the 210, 211,
But
and
don't do that.
everyone starts freaking out and starts taking tight ends.
Yeah.
Now you just get even more value at the running back and receivers.
Yeah, exactly.
sure,
Just
for sure.
zoom in.
And that's what happens in most home leagues, and that's really does.
You
It's
think
like,
the opposite. You think the opposite of that. If everybody starts taking tight ends, literally just start fucking.
I'm looking for
zooming
the
on
value.
running
Who-
backs, wide
who are
receivers,
they
like you
skipping
said.
on that should have got drafted?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
falling into my lap now?
Truly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Tight ends, one of those positions where yeah, it's nice to have Gronk or a good tight end, but I don't think you need it to win a league. You know what
No.
I'm saying? Because if you're stacked across the board, let's say you got
It can
two
win
good
you-
running backs, you got two good receivers, you got a solid flex, decent quarterback, good defense, and your tight end is your one weak spot. You can manage.
It can
You
win
you can manage.
it can
You'll
win-
get by.
It
you
can
know?
win you individual games, but it's not going to win you the season
Yeah.
because when it comes down to it, it's just one position.
yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? You only got one fucking
I mean,
tight end.
I won a league on the back of Jordan Reed before, so
I mean, yeah.
If
There's,
that guy can just
okay,
stay healthy,
look,
man, the sky's the limit for that guy. He's top 5 easy, Think about how much Alex Smith
but I got
loved
Jordan
throwing to
Reed at like
Kelsey.
wait, I think it was a waiver wire that year. So
Yeah, exactly.
I said,
So it's
I'm,
like, yeah,
I'm,
there's
I'm
exceptions.
I'm straight up Gronk or Bonk.
There's all yeah.
I mean, what's
I
up with Jordan
agree.
Reed? He's not injured or anything right now, right? Or did he fall walking into the building?
Who?
Did the wind blow too hard?
Reed? Who? Jordan?
Jordan Reed is day to day with a chest contusion from breathing.
Chest contusion. That sounded fucking legitimate. Bro, you're so fucking smart.
Bro, I'm fucking wicked smart, bro. The fucking carbohydrates in the middle of the light, bro. That fucking
Yo, those so
connecting
many
with the
carbs.
protons.
Right
and
now
stuff,
he's looking
bro.
healthy, so we'll see.
We'll
He,
see. We'll see with the preseason.
I'm
You
sure they'll
guys-
keep him out all preseason just to make it even more frustrating.
Hell yeah.
They're like, oh, he doesn't need snaps
It'd be nice to see him running around
because you
catching
know
the
why?
ball.
Because air hurts him, so he doesn't need snaps.
God, that
You,
guy.
you guys want to talk about headlines, stuff that came up today?
Yeah. Do you guys have any specific defensive or kicker strat? No, no one has a kicker strategy.
Dude, fuck that.
Yeah, let's just go to the headlines.
Yeah, let's go-
just
let's go into
kickers, just wait till the very
I'm
end.
gonna-
of draft
do not
kicker.
I'm gonna
draft
pull
a
up some
kicker in the
headlines
Wait
top
till the
today.
very end. Draft
Never.
kicker.
Okay, here's the actually
You
thing.
can
With,
find like the best kicker on the waiver wire. It's happened to me before where I found
Yeah,
like, the
bro,
number 1 or
because it
number 2 ranked
changes.
kicker on the waiver wire, and then I
Dude,
picked
it
them up. And
it happens
changes.
almost every year.
There's
every
a
year.
there's a reason why kickers go from one team to another, left and right.
Defenses
all the-
too.
yeah,
Like it's just. I picked up last year. I think I can't remember what defense
Parkey,
I
we
drafted.
picked up Parkey.
We picked up Parkey. Yeah, he was, but one league I was in last year, I can't remember what defense I drafted, but ultimately I ended up dropping that defense, and I picked up both the Jaguars and the Ravens defense, and they were both like top 3. So I just matched up, played them. Whoever was playing the worst team, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I found both those teams on the waiver wire. So I mean, wait on defense, wait on kicker. You'll find someone,
Yeah.
I just lost my train of thought.
All right, let's go. Let's go into
Wait, I had
some.
something on.
Let's go into some headlines. All right, ready?
All right, I'll come back to defense kickers.
Washington running. Obviously, you guys heard about this, but Washington running back Darius Geis is being evaluated for a knee injury. We don't know still.
Yeah,
What do you
I
guys
didn't
think
see
about
it.
that?
Did you guys see it?
I saw it. It looks like he got dragged down and pulled down. It's like basically imagine running and getting pulled down from your shoulder. Could be something serious. It could be a precaution.
Strain it.
I don't think there's such thing as a knee strain. I've had knee injuries, and
Okay, say Geis is down for the season. Where does that leave you guys with the Redskins running game?
it leaves me out of
They'll
committee.
probably have like P. Ryan just clouding
Same thing.
for
Same
20
shit.
times a
Same-
game for 80 yards. Or
Same thing as
something.
last year.
I mean, I guess you're looking at P Ryan as like a. No one's gonna draft P Ryan in the top 10 rounds. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't even draft. I wouldn't fuck him with your pick.
I mean, in P Ryan's, in any running backs from the Washington's defenses,
You could not wait. to get that
their
out.
line was murdered last year. So I know Rob Kelly and P Ryan were both disappointing, but if Geis is out, which I love Geis, I'm considering him personally in the top of the third, early second or late second right now, minus the injury. If any of them can rush to some decency and that line does show some efficiency, Jay Gruden will show some loyalty to a guy with 20 plus touches out of the backfield. And if no one's going to draft him, you're looking in the 10 to plus rounds, there could be some value. This is something we're going to have to watch and dictate.
Yeah, we got to make sure if
This
he's even
is
hurt or
just-
not. He could just be banged up and I don't know. He landed on it wrong.
I
so
mean, you
we'll
could
see.
just fall wrong, and get up. Like I fell wrong snowboarding. My knee kind of aches for a second. I get up, and it's like, hey, just if I was on the mountain, they'd be like, just sit out the rest of the mountain, and call for the day. If I was a pro snowboarder, but we all know I'm already on that extreme. But
Okay. Des Bryant, he visited with the Browns again, so it looks like he's going to be on that team. What does that do for you guys?
I don't know. I don't think he's gonna go to the Browns.
I
No?
agree.
They did. Yeah, they still have Josh Gordon
It's
who's gonna
a-
come back.
He's making
Landry.
quotes. He's making quotes saying that he wants to be. He's down to play for the Browns, but he has to be right
He's
first.
making quotes trying to get on Hard Knocks. is what I feel
Yeah, I don't know about that. They also have they traded away Corey Coleman, and people thought they were gonna sign Des Bryant because of that, but they drafted a rookie, Antonio Callaway. Is that his last
Yeah,
name?
and he looked
Yeah.
actually.
He looked
made some
really
big
good
plays
tonight.
today.
Really good. So
Minus
it's like
the
I
marijuana in
don't
his
know.
car.
Yeah, now I know. Yeah, minus the marijuana.
So you guys don't think it's gonna happen?
I personally don't think so, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't
I'm not a NFL beat reporter or whatever they call him,
Yeah.
so who knows? But
I mean,
that rookie looks really good. That's why I say no. They don't need to sign Des to a
But that
I
doesn't
mean,
really.
Des Bryant's gonna want a multi-million dollar, but he's gonna want a hefty contract when you got this rookie here who's probably making like 500, 600, 700.
I don't think that I don't think that affects really any type of fantasy. It's not. It doesn't really have fantasy relevance because what other? I mean, besides what's his name? The fuck is his name? Dude, jail. He was in jail. The fuck is his
Oh,
name?
that guy, the Joe guy.
Oh,
On the Browns.
Ray Lewis, the guy who murdered someone.
No, Ray Lewis. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
On the Browns, the receiver who he came back in the league last
We're
year.
playing charades.
Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
He
Sorry,
wasn't in
sorry.
jail. What did
Or he was
smoking
at
some
rehab.
weed.
Rehab. My bad. I feel like it's the same thing.
He's in jail.
No, it wasn't for weed, right? It's for something. Okay.
Those are weed.
No, he's just smoked hella
You just
weed.
like- you
Dude,
just
I
like it.
just set up the fucking microphones. Get away from me.
I mean, Ultimate too is like Des Bryant. We say Ultimate. I love that. Average Fantasy Bros is the ultimate.
ultimate show.
ultimately podcast.
The ultimate podcast. All right.
Des-
How long have we been going for?
Des and Josh Gordon play the. We probably better hour.
Over an hour. It's like hour and 10 minutes.
All right, we'll cut it soon because it's gonna get long. They play the outside position, so if they know Gordon's
okay,
coming
though.
back, Des isn't coming in there, and it's like he's a diva. You already have Landry. I just don't see.
I
You're
don't.
gonna
I
add
don't
more
think
chaos into that. And yeah, it's not happening.
All right.
It's-
We'll
it's happening.
we'll wrap it up
News
with
and notes. Keep going.
not news and notes. This is headlines, okay?
Whatever.
Headlines.
You know what I mean.
So Marlon Mack
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Marlon Mack.
hurt his hamstring, right?
Yeah, hamstring
Okay, so
injury.
that's one of those backfields where I was saying I don't want to draft any of those guys. But actually, if there was one player I'd probably take a shot on, like a flyer, it would be the Naheem Hines, the rookie from NC State. Take a shot on him.
Take a
Just
shot.
a quick, fast running back. They're saying he's like a Darren Sproles.
Did he play today?
I'm sorry?
Did you see him play today?
He did play today, yeah.
Look good.
Yeah, he looked good. They were saying he looks pretty good, like a little safety valve for Andrew Luck. I mean, he's one of those running backs where he's not the biggest guy, so he's not going to take a full workload. But, I mean, he's one of those guys where, you give him the ball in space, he can make things happen. So he's going to keep an eye on Marlon Mack. The owner of the Colts thinks that Marlon Mack could get 1,500 yards. I don't know what kind of drugs that guy's doing. I mean,
Dude, I mean,
he's going to Burning Man next
he
week.
did. He did get caught with a bunch of cocaine, actually, I think once. So
did he?
yeah, Jim Irsay or something.
Oh yeah.
Please don't sue me for saying that.
Jimmer say, "Suck my cock."
Yeah, that's a backfield I'm gonna watch too. I didn't get to look at the tape yet. I want to see what Jordan Wilkins looked like. I mean, the stats didn't look good, but I want to see what I see on tape. And then Naheem Hines, same thing. I want to see what I see on the field. Like, are they standing out? Are they making the eyes pop? Or are they making people miss? And I don't know. See what I see. But that's a backfield I'm not excited about. But there is that Alvin Kamara case where one guy emerges and is efficient and could be a reliable starter. Maybe not to that extent, but they could be an RB2. You know, you might have like Himes where he's getting he's getting 7 carries a game and 4 catches a game, and he ends up being an RB2. And that's something where I'm going to keep an eye on through the preseason and see if I can see any of that. It might be hard, it might be tough, and I might take some shots on someone depending on what I see, but that's a backfield we'll pay attention to, and we'll give you guys some outlook on as the preseason goes.
Is there any for you guys? Is there any other stuff like preseason wise that you guys want to go over? Stuff you saw today in the preseason games that you thought looked good, rookies that looked good, anything like that?
We're gonna do an episode where we touch on pretty much all the rookies that we think you should keep an eye on. That'll probably be the next episode we do.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean Baker Mayfield.
He threw really good today. I just was looking at his stats.
He looked really good.
We'll do a weekly recap too at the end of the week. Maybe
yeah.
once the games are all done.
Mayfield looked good. That Antonio Callaway guy, 3 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. Looked good.
Yeah.
Njoku, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
Late round sleeper.
And everybody thought,
Nick Chubb did not do good. 15 rushes, 11 yards.
That's bad.
You could do better than that, Mike.
Saquon Barkley averaged 10 yards per carry.
Shaquan, he did average 10 yards per carry, but if you saw it, he had 1 rush for 39 yards, and then he had 3 rushes after that for 3 yards.
That is my ultimate Saquon. He's going to have these weeks where he just
does nothing. Dude,
so
that's
it looks good. It looks, wow, he averages 10-point-something yards per carry.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like Anthony was saying,
it
came on one play, which, I mean, he has that
he does
play-breaking ability where he can make guys miss and get into space and make big plays like that. But don't be surprised if he has some games where he's,
I mean, he plays Saxonville week 1, and I think Saxonville would have sacked his ass in the backfield on that same play. And he might have went for I like Saquon's volume, but there's some worries with the way he dances in the backfield. I mean, if you're dancing, these defenses are so much faster, and there's just so much these rookies are learning too. I think he's safe volume-wise, and he's in my top 10 running backs, so I don't think I dislike him to a certain degree. But his dancing and lack of yards after carry when he's behind or at the line of scrimmage worries me a little bit. Taking him ahead of like a Zeke or a David or Bell or Gurley. I see some flaws in his game that are more Reggie Bush versus more, he's getting compared to this Fournette and Zeke, where these guys are actually like legit runners who are going to bang for the extra 2 yards. And the preseason kind of, one game, but I'm still looking at it, and we'll see what we find out with that.
A rookie I'm keeping an eye on is Green Bay Packers rookie wide receiver. I think is Marquez Valdez Scantling. I know he's a rookie. I think he's a 5th round pick. But, I mean, if you got Aaron Rodgers throwing me the ball, the guy's 6'4", he runs up 4.37 40. I mean, you're not sure what's up with Geronimo Allison. Randall Cobb's in the slot. I mean, I don't think he's going to see a high target volume. Just a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, we'll see what happens.
You for sure have to keep an eye on the wide receiver 2 of the Packers. I think I'm trying to pull up the stat right now, but they finish. Aaron Rodgers has supported 2 top 24 receivers quite often. I think it might be 4 to 6 years or 5 to 6 years. I got to pull up the numbers, but when Aaron Rodgers is on his game for 16 games and his receivers stay healthy, whoever that number 2 is, I mean, you're getting a wide receiver 2, if not a wide receiver 1 at sometimes. I know for a fact that 2 years he's carried Jordy and Devontae Adams both inside the top 12. So that is something to keep an eye on. And I mean, even if they're 3/4 that, there's still going to be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and that's going to be a value.
Yeah, Marquez Valdez Scantling. if I'm saying that right. 5 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown.
It's so crazy when these
big
rookies
body.
come in, nobody knows how to say their name, but then we all figure it
body,
out
yeah.
within the.
But
first
he
year.
made 2 really big catches, like jump balls, like contested catches, and he kind of just mossed the other guys.
Yeah. Mossed them.
Mossed them.
Could you imagine
The
if your
goat.
name became an adjective? What a fucking.
Moss is the GOAT.
All right.
You never hear anyone say they Jerry Rice someone.
No.
Jerry Rice.
Jaundice.
You
Fix
sound
our
like
website.
fucking, Jimmy or Timmy. Jimmy.
Jimmy Turner.
I can't even say it. Jimmy. All right.
But yeah, we'll have a rookie segment. We're gonna go over a lot of rookies that you should just keep an eye on. Just rookies that you should know of. That way, you
Let's
know
make it
them.
through your
you know?
dart.
Yeah, take some late round
When
flyers
you're
on
in
them.
that
These
late-
could be some guys on the waiver wire later on in the year.
Yeah, I feel like it's our first year in our podcast. Like, I feel like it's somewhere where we can help you guys. Is we're near that 10th, 11th, 12th round. Instead of drafting like a Frank Gore, what is he gonna get you 6 points a week, or like a Jonathan Stewart? It's like, let us introduce you to some of these players with high upside, where you're like, hey, throw that dart, and if it hits, in your 10th round, you're getting a receiver, running back, or whoever tight end. You actually like, okay, this guy could be something, and you end up hitting a 4th round value in your 10th, 11th round. And that's something where I used to just take like average players, and then when I started looking at fantasy football like a couple of years ago, I was like, okay, these players are high upside. It's like, who wants 8 points a week? No one wants 8 points a week. You want 20, 16, 22, and the players we're going to aim at the late rounds and give you guys advice about, they're sleepers. They can miss. We're going to probably miss about 75% of these guys, if not more. But we might hit on 20 to 30% of them. And if you didn't even know who they were and had recognition, you weren't even never going to draft them. But if your league has no idea who they are, Alvin Kamara, like I said last year, I knew who he was. Tariq Cohen, no one else knew who he was in the home leagues. And I took these guys. That's where we can help you guys, get an advantage in your league mates.
Yeah, that's why they're called sleepers.
Because they're
They're
asleep and you gotta
guaranteed.
wake
They're
them
not
up.
locked and loaded.
They're
so
not guaranteed, yeah.
Don't
so.
shoot us in the face if they miss.
Well, you look like a genius drafting that guy in the 14th round, and then all of a sudden he becomes, an every week starter for you.
Yeah, dude. You even draft him in the 19th round.
I have a Kamara 11th round keeper in our league.
11th round keeper, yeah. I had a dream that you got the first pick too, and you had Le'Veon and Kamara. That was not a good scenario.
And that's where we're trying to get you guys for next year. Yeah, for the rest of the league.
All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up. Yeah.
I never wrap it up. Wait, what?
I'm pretty
Oh,
good. I'm pretty good at
Oh.
This
All right,
is,
but yeah, next episode,
Let's wrap it up.
we'll talk about the rookies.
Yeah. Is that what we got next?
Weekly recap.
Rankings.
Maybe. We'll discuss it.
Yeah, we'll figure it
Add to
out.
the board. It's fine.
Anyways, it's not very organized anyways. But this has been the Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast. Go ahead, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, Anthony just dropped some equipment. Like I said in the beginning of the
Hashtag about
podcast, if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, go check us out on YouTube. It's youtube.com. It's /Average Bros FFP. Go check us out on Instagram. We're literally posting there every day. We're posting stuff that just fucking so many stats. You'll go on our Instagram and be like, oh my god, there's so many stats. I just can't even handle all these stats. But besides that, also just thank you for listening. Good job. You just listened to this whole podcast. Way to go. Hey, if you listen to this whole podcast,
You got better.
you probably did.
You got better.
You really did get
Honestly.
better.
If you gained one thing, you got better.
You listen to this whole podcast and you found out some
Psych.
things. You found out that you're now better at fantasy football. And you also found out that I'm dumb.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
All right. I'm Anthony.
Classic sign off. Suck me.